Hi there, I am Melanie Mehrer and I'm an art teacher in Istanbul, and I am in lockdown with all of my students at the moment. So I am going to teach a lesson on paper cutting in an online tutorial which I'm new to. So in this tutorial I am going to show you how to make a paper cut, and in the end you should end up with a beautiful paper cut that is a 3-layered paper cut or more if you would like, and it will look like this. It took me quite a few hours on this Sunday in lockdown in Istanbul to make this, and this is the paper that I had on hand. So stay tuned and see how you too can make a paper cut. Okay, so what you see here is I've taken a black piece of paper and I have taken my drawing and I've put it down, and I have used masking tape to stick it down. One of the things that you should be careful about is using a different kind of tape. Like if you use this kind of tape, it could rip the paper when you tear it off. So you have to be really, really careful. I tend to use this. I brought this from Canada. I think you can find it here. This is like painter's tape, so it's actually even less sticky, so it doesn't rip your paper. This should be okay. Just be really careful when peeling this off, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to cut, and I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. Now, if you are unsure about using an X-Acto knife, you can, if you have done it and you've ripped things, here's something that you can do, is that you can draw like just some little exercises on another piece of paper, and then you can cut these out as practice. So what I tend to do, I don't want to practice on this just to show you right yet, is I overcut just a little bit. And what I also do, make sure that your blade is in nice and strong, okay? And I just hold the blade quite low. If I do this, if I'm cutting with this up like this, it means I'm putting a lot of pressure on that tip, and I'm probably going to rip my paper. So also, you should just overcut just a little bit so that you know that this piece will come out easily. If you overcut just a little bit, right? And also move the paper around if the angle is not right. You'll see when I do this that I tend to flip it around a lot. See, and then I can just lift out the piece, and then I'm going to put that somewhere in a jar or someplace, so I'm not going to have little bits of paper everywhere, okay? So here I go. I'm going to do this little squiggle line. Notice that I move my body in order to get that kind of line around. It's not like drawing. You have to go with the direction of the blade, right? So I'm going to go around. And if this is, honestly, turn your paper. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is that they don't turn the paper. You're going to have to turn the paper. See? So now I've overcut just a little bit on both sides, and so I can lift that out, okay? And one continuous line is better than lots of little hairy lines, okay? So that's good drawing practice too for you. Okay, so now I've done that. I'm ready to go and move on to this. Okay, the last thing I want to say is please make sure that you have something underneath your drawing, because a lot of people forget and they put this straight on the table, and next thing you know, you're going to have this beautiful drawing carved into your table forever. So I often walk around the art room and see that children have carved their stickers and things that they've cut into the table, and I remember them forever. So don't do it, and especially because you're at home. I don't want to get any trouble from your parents. Okay, so I'm going to start this. I'm going to do it, you'll see here, I'm going to press hard enough so that I can get through to the paper underneath. If for some reason I cut it and this part's going to come out, sure, but the black part hasn't. Okay, you can always take a look at the lines behind, and you can even cut a little bit. I can see that I made a little bit of a mistake there, so that I can push it out there. If I get here, and it's tempting to rip it out, but if you rip it out, you're going to have a rip, and so you just have to go back in and just cut it out a little bit, okay? And then it'll come right out nice and easy, okay? So now I'm going to keep going. I'm going to cut this whole thing out on fast forward.
Okay, I have 2 points that I forgot to mention as we watch me cut out in double time here. Number one is that make sure that all of your lines connect, because obviously you're cutting out the little chunks in between the lines, and so if your lines don't connect, then you could end up cutting out big parts of your design, which you don't want. So make sure they all connect. The second point is that you have to cut from the weakest points to the strongest points. So when I was cutting this out, I cut out the really small or finicky parts, like around, I have some round edges in there. I had to cut those out first because they were tricky. So the bigger parts you leave in for stability, and then when you are almost finished the design, you cut them out. So in this case, you'll see that I cut the sky out last because it was the biggest part of my, my design.
All right, so here's our finished project. As you can see, I put a colored piece of paper underneath it just to separate it from the background so you can see this. So we have a lovely paper cut, and this is what my piece of paper now looks like. As you can see, this would be great for stenciling. So this is the first thing that we're learning, is that this is how we create a stencil. If I were to take this and put it up on a wall and spray paint it, you would have this spray painted onto the wall. I wouldn't recommend it. This isn't the greatest paper. You could probably use it once and that would be about it. So anyway, stenciling for another day. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to add color. Now, the thing is that this looks great and I don't mind it, but I'm kind of limited on my colors at the moment, but I do have this blue and it looks nice like this, but let's say I wanted to add a color, which you will. You have different colored paper at home. You can do this. So this blue, it's okay. I think it's a bit much. So this is what I'm going to do. I only want blue. Let's say I want blue for the sky and for the Bosphorus only. And then the rest of it, I want it to be white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. Okay. And I'm going to stick it like this. You can tape it down if you're feeling unsure. But if not, I think, yeah, I will do so, just to be proper. Okay, so I got this tape. Sometimes it's not good to cut corners. Okay, so I'm just gonna tack it down here. If you feel like you're gonna move it a lot, you can make sure that you tape a little bit of that color paper underneath, but I think I'll be okay. So anyway. In fact, I should, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace the part that I want to keep. Okay. Now, you can see that as I trace, the pencil line is actually going to be a little bit on the outside of my, of the cut. Obviously, a mechanical pencil would work better than this. If you have a mechanical pencil handy, use that. All right, so up we go and around the bridge and up we go, up these minarets. And try not to bump the camera with my head as I do this. Up and around and down. Okay, awesome. All right, so we got that, right? Okay, whoop. Yours doesn't have to be so detailed. If you make it really detailed, then you have to be pretty spot on. So you need detail, but you know, work within your limits. Okay. Work with what, don't make yourself crazy. I'm a bit of a masochist. I kind of like doing this kind of stuff. So, okay, so we've got that out, and now I'm gonna do the Bosphorus. Okay, got that around this bush. This bush is gonna not be blue, obviously, because bushes are not blue. Okay, right around the corner. As you can see, I don't script these things as I go. The lame teacher jokes happening. All right, okay. Oh, here comes the cat. No, this is the wrong time to come and visit me. Please, don't go away. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, so now we have, I'm gonna lift this up. We have this outline here, as you can see. Oh, I missed a little spot there. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take out, this was just for show, so I'm going to take off this paper here because I'm going to use it later for something else and I don't want to make it dirty. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut this part out, okay? And then we'll figure out a way to put it all together in a second, but I won't make you sit through that. Okay, so I have now cut out the blue part, as you can see. I did have a little bit of a mistake, so we learn from mistakes, and that's how we become better artists. So I'll show you what I did. I messed up. I cut through here, and I cut through a little bit here. So what I did is I just put a little bit of tape on the back of that, and then I took my knife. What I did is I just taped it right over, and then I just took my knife and I carved out the tape. All I want to do is keep that in place so that when I put that on top of it, it's in the right spot. However, if there is something that you really messed up, what you could do is you could glue it onto a white piece of paper like this. And then you can glue the missing parts in the right spot. I'm not doing it this way right now because I think if we do it this way, we're gonna learn how to do reduction cutting later on in lino cuts. So there's a little piece right there that's stuck. So this is why I want you to practice doing it this way first. If you have to, you can glue it down. Okay, so there we go. Let's hopefully this will work. Okay, so there we go. So I'm gonna put that paper down. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. There's a little bit there. It doesn't really matter because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this. Now remember, what we did is I flipped it over when I traced it because this has all these pencil lines. I don't know if you can see that, but there are pencil lines and there are pencil lines around here. So if I flip it over, I don't have any pencil lines. Yay! So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the tape off of my paper cut gently, gently, so I don't rip it after all of this work. Okay, there we go. And then what I'm gonna do is I am going to line it up. Okay, there we go. Now let's see how we go. There we go. All right. And you don't have to use, you can use collage, you can do any kind of paper. You could, if you had newspaper, if it was suitable to your drawing, you could do it. There we go. So I'm lining it up there. And then before I glue it down, I'm gonna take a look. I don't even have to glue it down. You can just frame it. It's a little bit out, but I actually really don't mind it. You see, like down here, right here, it's a little bit out, right? I think that it just adds to the fact that it's a paper cut. So if it's not actually absolutely perfect, that looks pretty good. Like it's just a little bit out here, then that's the fact that it's handmade. So there is my beautiful phosphorus that I made today for you guys. So you can see that if, let's say I messed up here, I connected it there. That's where I put the tape down. But really what I could do is I could glue this down to the paper and that down to the paper in the right spots and make it work. So there you go. I have a beautiful paper cut that is ready for framing. If I really wanted to get crazy, I could go in and do a green paper cut, another layer for just the bushes, which knowing me, I might do. You could flip the colors around. You could put collage under it. If you had pattern paper, you could put it under it. Let's take a look if I put green under it now, just for fun. Woo, see, there's a lot of things that you can do with paper cuts that are quite special and neat. And if I had more different colors of paper, then I would have more fun, but it's lockdown. So there you go. Ta-da! That is the end of my paper cut tutorial.